My name is Gary Dehart. I'm the publisher of Insightful Accountant, the host of this event. Our presenter is Janel Sykora, founder of Kajabra, not Kajabra, Kajabra Marketing for Accountants, and she will share her bio once I turn the presentation over to her. But before I do start, we have a couple of housekeeping items and a couple of early polls for you. One is on our Be Insightful membership program. It's called Be Insightful because we want you to be insightful. And it features exclusive training tracks from Coach's Corner to technology to human resources, kind of everything that's impacting your business, all the different portions and parts of your firm. We have a trainer who will do a webinar, and then they do a follow-up kind of Q&A or workshop that'll be available, after each one of these sessions. $1 for the first month, $49 a month after that, or you can join. I think right now you might find $3.99 or $4.99 on the website for the year. All of these are currently CPE eligible, so you can earn about 36 CPE hours if that matters to you in a 12-month period just through this program. And then we'll go ahead and close that out, Matt. And we also have a second quick poll, and that is whether or not you are going to Scaling New Heights. We have a big party on Monday night to celebrate our top 100 pro advisors who are in attendance at Scaling New Heights. And we just want to make sure everybody who's at Scaling New Heights understands that that party is open. I think it's $25, but it is open registration, and we would love for you to be there. If you are going to be at Scaling New Heights, just let us know that on the poll question, and we will ensure that you get the latest information on that. With that said, Janel, it's all back to you. Certainly appreciate you being here. Appreciate those in attendance as well. If you are going to Scaling New Heights, look us up. We'll be there.
Awesome. So will we. Well, thank you so much, Gary. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to talk to everyone today about my favorite topic, which is growth and marketing and amplifying that growth. I'm assuming that everyone on this call is wanting to kind of crack that code on how to get new clients for your firm. When we look at hitting revenue targets, obviously we can raise fees, we can upsell compliance clients, but the best way to amplify your growth is to keep that sales pipeline full. That's what we're going to be talking about today and how to do it. So for those of you who don't know me, I want to start with a little bit on my background. My career actually spans 3 decades. Eesh, that makes me feel so old. The last 15 of which have been exclusively working with accountants like you guys, CPA firms, accounting firms, bookkeeping firms. And the first 25 years of my career was all sales related. I was in professional sales. Here's the thing. I hated cold calling, and I never used pressure tactics. It's not me. That's also not the best characteristic to have if you want to get hired as a salesperson. But I got really good at creating and implementing the right processes that would drive leads to me. Then I would nurture them. Then I would close them when they were ready. And then it led to always having a very full sales pipeline. I never missed a quota, got lots of awards, went to a ton of president's clubs. But the moral of that story, the reason I wanted to share that with you is that I was able to create processes that filled my sales pipeline and drove revenue without having to feel pushy or sleazy. And so when I decided to leave corporate America, I knew I could build my own business and help the clients that I love working with the most, which is you guys. And I wanted to be able to show how to implement these same processes that I built that worked for me. And that's what I'm going to show you today. So that's a little bit background on me and what we're going to talk about today. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to talk pretty fast, but this deck will be available for you afterwards as well. I'm going to break down my process, like I mentioned, as well as the processes that we routinely put in place for CPA firms that hire us as a marketing agency, and for accounting firms, doesn't have to be CPA firms. Essentially, we've boiled it into like this 7-step blueprint. And that's what we're going to be covering to help you capture new leads, how to nurture them throughout the whole journey, and automatically, and then convert them to clients. And then at the end of the presentation today, I hope you stay to the end because we are going to reveal an exclusive offer just for you guys that are on this call today and for those that are in Be Insightful. And because I know lots of CPA firms and accounting firms ask me about social media, even if you aren't in a position where you want a bunch of new clients, but you know you need to improve your social media presence and it like makes you nauseous to even think about it, we're going to cover that today too. So let's get started with the first thing that you're going to do. So I did a webinar on this in a lot of depth yesterday and be insightful. The first thing that has to happen is your messaging. It is the most important thing. It is your foundation. Just like for you guys, when you tell small business owners, you have to have your books in order. You have to have the numbers right in order to do anything else in your business. The same thing applies when it comes to messaging. There are over 88,000 accounting firms, accounting services firms in the United States, all selling relatively similar services. And if every firm is saying the same thing about their services, how is a business owner going to know to pick you? Now, let me switch gears for a second. Let's talk about the small businesses that there are in the United States, your opportunity. There's 34 million of them, more than that actually. And the last statistic I saw was that about 70% of them don't actually hire an accountant. They're doing everything themselves, which is terrifying. They need you. And these numbers represent tremendous opportunity, but you have to differentiate yourself. This is where the messaging comes in. So that's where we're going to start. And the first thing you have to do is define your ideal client. So I'm going to recommend to you that if you're multitasking, come back to me here. I'm going to say that in a couple of different places, but I'm going to want you to either open up a Word doc or a Google Doc or a pen and paper, whatever, or come back to this later, whatever works. But you actually need to document this exercise. You need to identify who that ideal client is. And I strongly encourage you to niche down. If you've ever heard that saying, niches are in the rich or riches are in the niches, it's true. And a niche is not every small business owner out there. A niche could be industry related. A niche could be a specific service related, but you've got to narrow it down because if you are more of a specialist, you're going to be able to attract those specific clients and command a higher price. Okay, enough on that because we went in way in depth on that yesterday. What you're going to do once you identify your ideal clients is that you want to identify what do they want? What's their desire? Not just what are their problems. You're going to want to identify all those pain points, but what's keeping them from getting what they want? And also, what does success look like for them, both in the short term and long term? So help them see what a quick win looks like when they're working with you and what's going to happen, what's going to look like to work with you long term, what the results are that they're going to experience. Also understand, what does failure look like to them? What are some of their biggest fears? And ultimately, what you're trying to do here is you want to be able to paint a picture of what the stakes are for not having you as the guide to get them to where they want to be. Because at the end of the day, what your job is you need to position yourself as the expert who's going to get your ideal client from where they are today in pain with some sort of a problem to wherever they want to be tomorrow or a year from now, which is their vision of success. And telling that story in a story is of utmost importance. All right. Once you have actually identified who it is, your ideal client, maybe you like working with contractors, maybe you like working with medical facilities, whatever. Once you have that defined, now we're going to create a brand messaging playbook for your firm. This is really what it comes down to in terms of what differentiates you. We're going to cover the key elements of what's inside a brand messaging playbook next, but first, let's talk about telling your brand story and why story works. Stories work because they engage us emotionally. It's all about that emotion. We see ourselves in some way in the stories that stick with us. If you think about your favorite movie or your favorite series or your favorite book, it's because you can identify with the character in there somehow and you remember them. Stories are definitely more memorable and persuasive than just straightforward presentations of information. And a brand story is very relatable. It evokes emotion. Your ideal clients can relate. They think you read their mind if your messaging is right. And it also simplifies complex concepts, which is even 10 times more important in this profession, right? Because you are dealing with very complex information and terms. Also, it needs to cast that vision of success. I want to mention that most purchases, even when it comes to services, are based on emotion. and then they're justified with logic later. So you've got to be able to tap into that emotion. Now, before we get into the key components of what is inside a messaging playbook, you're probably wondering what you're going to do with it. And Janelle, what the heck do you mean by implement strategically? All right. Well, here's where it starts. Once we've got the brand messaging playbook created and documented, and we're going to talk about that next, you're going to start by implementing your messaging in all of your online touch points. We'll get to that. But have also another strategic use for your brand messaging playbook is things like this. Have you ever thought about like, well, I should be posting on social media more, but I don't know what to post? Or, yeah, my last blog post is 3 years old because I have no idea. I'm not a writer. Or what kind of content could I possibly create that my tribe or my ideal clients would even find valuable? Or here's a good one that I had a few weeks ago with a client, which is, look, I have all these email addresses just sitting there of prospects, and I don't know what to do with them. All of these things are why you need a brand messaging playbook, because it makes the content really, really simple to create. So let's look at what's inside a brand messaging playbook. Okay, so this can be way more extensive than this, but I wanted to boil it down and make it simple, yet include all the things that are really going to help you build your story and your message. So the more you can put in here, the better, but these are the main things. Your ideal client avatar, also called your ideal client profile, your target audience. I'm sure you've heard some of those terms. What we talked about a couple of slides ago, that has to go in here. And again, it can't be all small businesses. It needs to be more narrow than that. Even if it's 2, maybe 3 niches, it needs to be narrower than everybody under the sun. So the ideal client is where everything starts, right? And then you want to look at what their pain points are and what are their problems? What's keeping them up at night? What are they worried about? Is it that they don't look good in orange, so keep me out of that orange jumpsuit? Is it, I don't want to lose my business? Is it, I'm growing so fast, I feel out of control? Whatever that is, you need to list and document all of that. And then you want to figure out, okay, well, if this is their pain point, how can I empathize with this to make them feel like, oh, he gets me or she gets me? You need to document all of that. So if you're multitasking, here's another spot where you want to come back and look at these things, because if you could either screenshot them, write them down, or come back to this later, but these are the key elements that you want to put in your brand messaging playbook. Also, once you've done the pain and positioning section, now you want to talk about the value. What is it? What does your brand do for your audience? And doesn't mean I do books or I do tax compliance. What are the results you get? What is that emotional results that someone gets from working with you? And then I also like to have a stakes section. Let me explain what that is. I like to be able to take this messaging then and turn it into, well, okay, if your ideal client chooses not to work with you, what's at stake? What are the consequences of not hiring you? And those consequences might be something like, well, they're going to miss opportunities. They're going to lose money because they're not going to be able to minimize their tax liability, or they won't be tax efficient. They won't be able to accumulate wealth. Whatever the stakes are, you need to be really clear about what the stakes are for not working with you. And then what is it? This is non-emotional, the authority section. What is it that you do better than your competition? What one thing that you do better? And then your elevator pitch. So the best formula I've ever seen for an elevator pitch is by Donald Miller, who wrote Building a Story Brand. His elevator pitch formula is problem, solutions, results. So starting with a problem, talking about a problem, it could be like 2 sentences or even beginning with a question, however you want to do it. Start with a problem, talk about your solution, and then the results that you drive. That's your elevator pitch. It's literally 30 seconds, no more than a minute. But I'm going to tell you, when you're putting all of this together and documenting it into a nice, neat playbook, I'm going to give you a tip. Write everything like you're talking to a 5th grader. Business owners don't understand revenue recognition and other terms that you live by. In fact, I even had a meeting with a client yesterday who said, you know what? There's actually a lot of shame with really smart business owners who are growing really fast and they're out of control. They're too embarrassed to ask, what do you mean by that? So, and that's a turnoff to business owners. So be proactive about messaging everything in a way that even a kid can understand, that doesn't have the knowledge you do. All right, let's spin up a polling question, Matt. We're going to start with, why is having a clear niche important when marketing your accounting firm? Well, allows you to maybe do a volume play, charge less, makes it easier for you to outsource your work, helps you stand out and speak directly, or boost your SEO ranking. This one should be pretty much a slam dunk, but we'll see. All right. Oops. All right, what do we have so far, Matt? Okay. So for number one, it's actually the opposite. So it actually allows you to charge more and attract the right kinds of clients. That's why you want to have a clear niche, because you're just like, you're going to pay more if you go to a heart surgeon than you pay to go to your general practice guy. That he's a specialist and he has a niche. He likes hearts, cardiology. The correct answer is it does help you stand out and speak directly to those ideal clients' needs. So that is correct. I'm a huge fan of niching. Obviously, my whole firm is niched. We only work with accounting firms, and allows us to get really deep in understanding the business and having an impact. Okay, now that we've got the messaging developed, it's time to focus on step two, which is how you appear online. So once you've got your messaging, you're going to want to optimize that online presence. And your key touch points are these three places to start with. Now, in this step, what your goal is to make sure that your messaging is strong and that it's clear, it's consistent, and it's the same across your website, across your Google business profile, and across any social platforms that you're on. And for any personal and professional social platforms. So if you have a good personal brand on LinkedIn, your messaging should also be reflected on in your personal brand. Now we're going to get more into detail behind the website and the social platforms here coming up in other steps, but I want to make sure to underline this. Your Google business profile is of utmost importance. If you don't have one, claim it, go through the verification process. I promise you it will be worth it. It is as important as your website. All right. Let's see here. I want to talk about Google reviews for a minute while we're on the subject of the Google business profile. It's a really staggering statistic. Over 80%, this was the last stat that I saw, of people look at Google reviews before they engage with a business. So think about it this way. When you capture a new lead, like let's just say it's someone got referred to you, they stumbled across your website, they heard you speak somewhere, whatever. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to Google you and they're going to go look at your Google reviews. That social proof is so, so important. You see the statistic right there. But beyond that, there's another reason Google reviews are really important. They're a very strong SEO signal to Google that you are a business that should be served up to searchers. Google reviews are actually the best thing that you can do for your SEO that's free. So I'll tell you this too, if you have a lot of reviews out there, but let's just say your last one was from 9 months ago, it's definitely time to get new ones. It's, this is a manual process for most because you have to remember to ask, but it can be automated, and we'll talk more about that too. I recommend it. But you want to make sure that you are getting a trickle of reviews in every once in a while. It doesn't have to be per week, but you want to have some newer reviews out there. It's also worth mentioning here that in my experience working with accountants, a lot of accountants are like, ooh, when you talk Google reviews, because they're really nervous about asking for those reviews. Kind of like I was nervous about cold calling as a salesperson. I've never met an accountant who likes asking for Google reviews. And usually it boils down to the fact that they're afraid of getting something less than that 5-star. Like if someone didn't get the refund back they were expecting, or the books were a bigger mess and the cleanup bill was going to be a lot more. Don't worry so much about that. The key to Google reviews is making sure that you respond to every single one you get, positive and negative. Because what's going to happen is when those people who are referred to you or leads that you capture somehow go and see your Google reviews, if they see a 2-star review, they're going to look at it. Naturally, we all do. but they're also going to look at how you responded. And if you are polite and professional and kind and you follow it through and respond, that's going to matter. So don't worry so much about having that perfect 5-star rating. Worry more about getting the reviews and then responding to every single one. Okay. Let's see here. Step 3. Okay. Let's talk about what we've done so far. So once you've got your messaging nailed and you've updated it on all your online touch points, now what you're going to do is you're going to make it as easy as possible for ideal prospects to enter into your sales process. Now, I want to go back. I actually want to rewind for 1 second because I want to tell you another little trick with the brand messaging playbook. So this trick is, and this is why I tell you to document it. You all, I'm sure, use ChatGPT. You can take a copy of your brand messaging playbook and you can upload it to ChatGPT, and then you can use very specific prompts to tell it what kind of content to create referencing your brand messaging playbook. If you do that, you will get far better content out of it than if you were just asking it to do something like you normally would. So that's kind of a nice little hack. All right, moving fast forward again here, back to step 3. Got the messaging done. We've updated that on all of our platforms, our online touch points. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about making client scheduling effortless, because what we want to do is remove any friction from that sales process. So we need to be able to give people a way to book on your calendar or someone in your firm's calendar really easily. And the idea here is to cut out all that back and forth on the email that we were used to in the old days, so that people can book appointments with you and just, or not necessarily you, it could be just for a discovery call with someone in your firm in just a few clicks. And a lot of you probably use Calendly. I've heard of it. That's what I'm talking about, is that type of a booking link. We have one inside our platform, Kajabra, as well, that is works just like Calendly and does a few other things. But the idea here is you can set up different types of calendar links for different lengths and types of meetings. So this was something that used to save me time way back, even in my sales days, way back in the early days of Calendly. I never said, when can you meet? Is Tuesday at 9 good? I would always just send out my booking link and allow people to book with me, and it worked. It saves so much time, and none of us love all the email back and forth. So think about doing things like having maybe a 30-minute meeting. Maybe your discovery call is only 15 minutes. So you set up a booking link that you put out on your website. Or what if you wanted to have a 60-minute meeting for, I don't know, tax planning meetings at the end of the year? You can create as many of these as you want, but it saves a lot of time. Now, another thing that I want to point out is that I often get asked the question, well, I don't want to give someone carte blanche access to my calendar. That's pretty scary. I want to have, maybe I'm a solopreneur and I want to have a booking link out on my website, but I don't want everybody landing on there. Another option would be to create like a discovery form questionnaire that someone, when they click on that call to action button, which we'll talk more about here in a minute, that they have to fill out a form that they have to submit. And then once they do that, then they can book an appointment. That way you get information on them. You know exactly what to expect when you're in the phone call. You can have a more productive conversation, or you can also build a form that has some intelligence, like some logic built into it, so that you can vet them either onto your calendar or into a different process. Okay. The idea here too is automation, right? So you're automating, allowing people to book on your calendar. You set the rules on whatever appointments you want to take on whatever days. All calendar booking engines have the ability to set those rules. And you're going to automate confirmations, and you're going to automate reminders. And when you automate those reminders, it's a great idea to do it through text and through email. Because a lot of times people don't always see their email, but 95% of people will see their text within 5 minutes, by the way. Okay, so we talked about making it easy to come into your sales process. That's what you want to do. You want to capture those flies with honey, right? So now we're going to move into step 4. This is a source of a lot of missed opportunities. It's just missed calls. It's a crazy statistic. This is a Google stat. Small and mid-sized businesses miss 62% of calls. It's crazy. And here's the reality. We live in this digital world where we all want immediate gratification. We all want to be able to pick up our phones and say, go to Amazon, order something, and have it on our doorstep by the end of the day. I'm as guilty as all of us, right? So we've become so trained, especially the Gen Z and millennials, so trained in this immediate gratification that if we're calling a business as a prospect, we're not leaving voicemail. If someone doesn't answer, we're moving on. And remember the statistic that there's 88,000 accounting firms out there. You really don't want to miss those calls because there are so many alternatives. And again, we're just wired for that immediate gratification. If you look at the math, like I did some very basic math on this, that there is a 60% hang up rate of potential customers when there's a long hold time or a complex phone tree and they just get frustrated or they get to voicemail. If you think about it, let's just say you've got an average client value of like, I don't know, $450 a month as an example. You miss one client, that's $5,400 that year. But what if you miss 10 phone calls and you have a 30% close rate? Now you've lost $16,000. So the opportunity cost is real. But I also understand this, that you're only one person. And it doesn't make sense for you just to hire someone to answer your phone, right? Or maybe you're not one person. Maybe you're a small firm and man, during busy season, you just got to route them to voicemail. I get that. It doesn't always make sense to have someone hire someone to answer the phone. But there are options now with technology. There are options like being able to, when someone calls, if you're not able to answer it, at least have a system that can capture their number and text them back immediately to say, like, detect that they called and to say, hey, so sorry we missed your call. What can we help you with today? You may or may not get a text back. Sometimes you will. But either way, if you've captured the phone number, when you are available to call them back, now you have a phone number to reach out to and you've got a prospect to follow up with. Whereas if they hung up, you got nothing. Another option that has gained a ton of popularity this year, in fact, is an AI receptionist. You guys, AI is getting so good. If you go out to our website, we have this installed on our website. And if you dial our business number, it's crazy. We get people call and they interact and they have no idea that they are talking with AI because we've trained it to ask certain questions and we've trained it to say certain things and we've trained it to move people along to book an appointment on my calendar if that's required, or also if they want to speak to a human, this AI agent will send them to a human. So that's another option for you because AI voices are getting really good. Okay, Matt, let's spin up another polling question. All right. So this should be easy. What's the one reason missed calls can significantly hurt firm growth? Is it a hit on your SEO? Does it just make them feel like your team's too busy, don't want their business? Do they represent lost leads with revenue potential? Or do they just annoy your existing clients? I'm pretty sure this one's a slam dunk. And I'm going to get a drink of water because my throat is dry. Okay. All right. Give you a few more seconds. All right, let's see how that turned out. Missed calls. Okay. So they don't really hurt your website ranking, your SEO. There is definitely, I think answer B, that's true for sure. They can definitely indicate that you guys, that your team is too busy for sure. The biggest reason though, is that when you miss a call, you miss an opportunity, right? And that's real. So that's the number one correct answer. All right. Rolling into step 5. Okay. All right. So let's think about this blueprint, right? I said there's 7 steps and there's 7 logical steps. You have to do one before the other. So we've got our messaging nailed. We've got all of our online channels optimized with that correct messaging. We've got our automated scheduling set up, all the rules, the links, all the good stuff. That way we can get people easily into our sales process. We aren't going to miss calls from our prospects. So those are the basics. Let's now what? All right. So now what we do is we have to establish authority and build trust. We live in a trust economy. It has shifted from an attention economy to a trust economy. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And when you build trust in a more public, like one-to-many space versus one-to-one, like cold calling and meetings, when you're able to build trust in that more public space, by the time your prospects actually get to that discovery call with you, they're much further along in the sales process because they already trust you. They will have already consumed some of your content, seen your messaging multiple times before you even have a conversation with them. That is 100% true. Most times when I have someone land on my calendar for a discovery call and I haven't met them before, I always ask, how did you find me? Where did you find me? And I always hear the same things. Oh, we saw you in a webinar, or we saw some of your content online, or I follow you on LinkedIn. That stuff matters. Okay, now remember the authority section of your playbook. That's a great place to start for content inspiration here. But there are 4 really good ways, common ways. There's more than 4, but let's talk just about these 4 today. 4 common ways for accountants to build trust and authority. So starting with the first one that makes most accountants' eyes go cross-eyed is social platforms. Don't worry, we are going to talk more about that on the next slide. So I'm not going to, I think even the next couple slides, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much today. It is one way to, at this minute, it is one way to establish authority and build trust. We're going to dig into that, okay? It's where you can share professional insights and you can connect with peers and potential strategic partners and clients. But there are others, and I want to talk about these for a minute. If you all have not heard of Alignable, or you've heard of it, maybe signed up years ago, never did anything with it, like yours truly, I encourage you to go back to it. Alignable has exploded. I heard a statistic, don't know if it's true, but I heard there are more people on Alignable than there are on LinkedIn right now. Alignable is very authentic. There are lots of groups, lots of good conversation. It is not salesy or spammy, and it is a terrific place to share your expertise, your knowledge, and to network and build those relationships with prospects as well as referrals. Also, networking groups. And what I mean by that is if you've niched down and you're really focused in, let's just say on an industry, find out what are their associations. Where are they getting together and networking? Is it live? Is it in a Facebook group? Where is it? And that's where you need to be. And sometimes that's live, sometimes it's online. There are lots of online networking opportunities as well as in person. Also, podcasts and webinars. Now, not everybody has a podcast. Not everybody wants to be a guest on a podcast, but I am finding more and more accountants who actually do because they're thought leaders. And so don't be afraid to participate as a guest to showcase your expertise on a podcast, because then you've got content to share across all your social media. And another really good idea that's capturing a lot of momentum, shall we say, is doing webinars. Think about it. If you, let's just say you're focused in on a niche and it's whatever it is, let's say it's restaurants this time. Why wouldn't you want to do a webinar to provide high value information for all the restaurant owners in your area? Make it free. That will give you an opportunity to provide value to them and for them to get to know you and begin to trust you. So webinars are a great way to generate leads and establish authority. Let's dig into social media just a little bit more. So if you're looking for growth in any way, social media can be an effective part of your strategy. It's actually a pretty powerful business tool because it helps potential clients find you. And it really does expand your visibility. You want to be visible. It also allows you to share your expertise in that one-to-many environment I was talking about a couple slides ago. And that translates into building trust when it's done right. And from a relationship standpoint, when people are following you, they feel connected with you. There is some level of relationship there to nurture when they're following you. There's a reason they're following you. Adds also that human touch, and it allows you to give your firm some personality. All right. So this is the why behind why even bother with social media. Okay, but how do you know what platforms to focus on? I've talked to firms who think they need to be on every platform under the sun and some who are not sure where to start. I get that. This is where I often see that overwhelm set in, thinking you have to be everywhere, and that is just not the case. Different platforms have different strengths. So what I always tell people is first, it's important to know, again, who's that ideal client? This is why everything is stepped in a specific process. You have to know your ideal client to have any success on social media. Think about where those ideal clients hang out. For most accountants, especially those who want to serve business owners, it's going to be LinkedIn for sure, at least. Maybe Facebook, maybe Instagram, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But if your niche is construction, for example, LinkedIn may not be where you want to focus. Instagram may not be where you want to focus. That's probably Facebook, but I would be really focused on what some of their associations are too, and definitely alignable. The bottom line here is really just to pick one channel if you aren't doing any and focus in on that one, gain some traction, and then you can add another one. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you some really good shortcuts here. So, what do I post on social media? Well, this is a great tip. Start by opening up an Excel doc or a Google Sheet, and I know you all love Excel, so start there. And I want you to think about 6 to 8 different topic types. By that, I mean, okay, maybe every Monday I'll promote a blog post. Maybe on Tuesdays I'll do a tax tip. Maybe on Wednesdays I'll do a staff highlight. Whatever those types are, think of 6 or 8 of them, and then determine how often am I going to post in a week, right? So maybe it's twice, maybe it's 3 times, maybe it's 5 times, whatever it is. Think about your cadence and then rotate those topics through. That's where you start in that Google Sheet or that Microsoft Excel. And then once you know the type of topic you've got to cover, now you can figure out what the content is going to be. So much easier. And you can use your playbook. You can upload that bad boy into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you help me create 3 LinkedIn posts about, or 1 LinkedIn post that's a tax tip that keeps, that uses the messaging in my brand playbook, or that leverages the messaging in my brand playbook, however you want to say it. You will be so surprised how much content you can churn out very, very quickly. And then my other shortcut is don't post directly to your different social media channels. Use a scheduler. It could be the social media planner and scheduler inside Kajabra. It could be, there's a million of them out there, but use a scheduler, batch your content, sit down on a Sunday or a Friday or whatever, and plan out an hour, or I'm sorry, a week or 2 weeks or even a month of content and be done. And then schedule it all, let it go. Don't just post and ghost though. Be sure and check it, just go engage. If people are liking it and they're engaging with it, be sure and engage with it also. If you're just starting out, it's going to feel rough at the beginning because engagement's hard to drive if you don't have any currently. It will happen. You just have to be super consistent and you have to keep that cadence and you have to provide value. It's all about providing value versus just advertising your firm. All right, we have 2 steps left. Steps 6 and 7. Now that we have our marketing foundation in place, how do we get leads, right? So I'm a huge fan of having several different channels for driving leads, like having several different fishing poles in the pond. You're going to increase your chances of catching a fish, right? So these are just 5 tactics, and if you work them, they will drive leads. But what's as important as capturing new leads is how you nurture them and close them. We're going to get to that next. But first, let's just touch on a few ways to actually capture leads. Niche networking, we talked a little bit about that, about finding out where are your ideal clients hanging out? Do they have associations? Are they going to BNI meetings? Are they at the Chamber of Commerce? Are they on Alignable? Network wherever your niche is, either live or online. Strategic partnerships, form strategic partnerships. If your niche is restaurants, who else is selling to restaurants? Who else can you collaborate with, maybe to provide a strong offering together? Your website optimization, transforming your website into a lead generating machine. We're going to talk about that next. And then you could consider ads or data enrichment, but you don't have to. You can grow your pipeline completely organically without spending a dime on ads. It is an option if you're wanting to accelerate the pace of growth for your business, ads are a great option. And then, of course, I'm starting to see a lot more old school meets new school, which means when you're following up with a lead or capturing a lead, I think direct mail is starting to see a bit of a resurgence because it sort of went away for a while. And then email just exploded. Email hasn't changed. It is still a very effective way for nurturing marketing. I don't like cold email, but there are plenty of people who do it. But direct mail is a great part of a sequence, like an entire campaign to hit someone with an email and maybe a text and a postcard. Okay. Let's just spend a quick minute on your website because we talked about that earlier. There are some places on your website that you can optimize and plug the holes in a leaky bucket. When people go to your website, you want them to do something. You want to be able to capture them as a lead, even if they're not ready to book a call with you. So the easiest call to action on your website is the button in your top right-hand corner, which you should all have. And it should say something like start a consultation or start a conversation or book a consultation or start a conversation or let's chat. That should always lead to something. And that something should either be a discovery form or a link to a calendar where they can book a call. There are other ways to capture leads for people who visit that won't do that. And that would be gated content. So lead generators, maybe you've got a little masterclass video you put together. Maybe you've got a checklist, a calculator, a budgeting planners or some sort of an ebook. All of those things should be behind forms that require the person who wants to download them to give you their email address and their cell phone number, because you want to be able to market to them via SMS as well as email. Those work, and you should have them out there, and then you can promote them on your social media, etc. Also, chat widgets on your website. They're not the old school chat widgets that do absolutely nothing. I'm talking about an AI powered chat widget that will pop up and ask someone when they get onto your website, hey, how can I help you today? And then that person may or may not engage, but chances are if they're in the Gen Z or younger generation, they're going to engage. Chat widgets are very effective in capturing leads. And then it turns it into, it's basically bringing someone into a text conversation because it captures their either their email or their text information. And they're just as smart as the AI receptionist. They can be trained to ask questions, book appointments on your calendar, to provide answers. It's amazing what AI chat widgets can do today that they couldn't even do last year. And that's a huge opportunity for capturing leads. Okay, nurturing. The fortune is in the follow-up. I believe that. I have proved that. I am living proof of that. That is how I have built my whole career. The secret sauce is truly creating and managing that whole pipeline from getting people into it, nurturing them along the way, and then closing them when they're ready to do business, when it makes sense for them. Doesn't make sense to be pushy. No accountant I've ever met is pushy. It's not in your nature, but you've got to be able to have a system in place that's automated where from the time you capture a lead, you can move them all the way through the system in an automated fashion so that when they are ready to do business, you are right there. And without automating that entire process from, grabbing leads all the way to nurturing them through your pipeline, there's way too many chances for balls to get dropped. And there's a lot of missed opportunities. And then, without automating that whole, I call it a marketing engine, it just becomes a very leaky process. Or if it's manual, it's super time consuming. And we all know what happens then. Processes break when they're manual. They just do. So why not let technology do it for you? All right. Step 7. And then I have something for you. I really encourage firms to automate their sales journey. It takes a little bit of setup up front, but once it's in place, it's in place. It's one thing to have your practice management CRM like Keeper, Canopy, or Taxstone. There's a lot of really good ones out there. And, to keep track of client communications and do your invoicing, all that good stuff. But every accounting firm needs a CRM, a marketing CRM that will allow them to create workflow automations and put marketing and follow up on autopilot so you can focus on what you actually love doing, which is working with clients and solving problems for them. What accounting practice management software is missing is automating that front end, that sales journey from the point of lead capture. and from confirming appointments and following up and nurturing leads like we talked about on the last slide, all the way through to onboarding new clients in an automated fashion consistently. Essentially, if you automate your entire sales journey, you're going to be able to do the power of 5 people in the push of a button. And it does take some setup, a little bit, but it is worth it. Okay, Matt, let's spin up that third polling question, and then I've got some last things to share with you. Okay, so what do you think the main benefit is for using automation in your marketing and sales process? I'll give you a hint. A is not the correct answer. If that were the case, I would be viral. My partner actually went viral last night on TikTok. It was hilarious. Not even business related, whole other side story. Let's see, eliminates the need for networking. It allows you to scale without dropping leads or burning out. And it increases the complexity of client onboarding. So what do we think? All right, I'll give you a couple more seconds. Do we have everybody's in yet, Matt? Awesome. Okay. The main benefit of using automation in your marketing and sales process. Well, yeah, I guess it could potentially make your social media posts go viral, but that's not a good guarantee or necessarily why we would do it. The whole reason you want to automate is it saves you time, right? It allows you to scale your business without dropping leads or burning out. Because if you're trying to do the work and build your business and market at the same time and follow up with leads the right way, you're going to burn out so fast and you're going to drop balls, and those balls are going to land in your competitor's book of business. So essentially, the real reason for automation is to be able to grow and to scale and plug all the holes in the leaky bucket and set it and forget it. All right. Okay. So we did talk about a marketing CRM, and I want to give you some considerations and some thoughts here. So I often have people say to me, well, what would you recommend? MailChimp? What? At the center and the heart of your business and all of your automations is your CRM. It is more than your practice management system. Some practice management systems have started doing things like email marketing, but that's not what I'm talking about. What you need is a CRM where you need something that's scalable, multi-featured, without breaking the bank. There are a lot of them out there that have stair-step pricing I don't love, or free versions that you really don't get what you need out of. You need to find something that has an easy entrance point, but that will scale with you so that you don't have to change it years down the road, and that you don't find yourself paying a ridiculous amount of money years down the road as you grow. You want something that has like an open API too, that's integration ready. One ideally that's already integrated with, say, QuickBooks, or maybe it has some e-signature tools. You want something that's really going to help you consolidate and automate. We tell people that all the time. What you want to do is, you've got all of these apps in your firm. Maybe you've got, Adobe Sign, maybe you've got DocuSign, maybe you've got, I don't know, MailChimp, maybe you've got all sorts of different things. What can you consolidate? And when you think about it in terms of the sales journey, when someone really comes into your process all the way through to onboarding them, what's out there that can get you from capturing that lead all the way through to onboarding in one place? Ideally, too, you want a CRM that has an integrated AI copywriter. We talked a lot about taking that messaging playbook and then uploading it to ChatGPT, and then giving ChatGPT the prompts. That's great and that's fantastic. But if you have an integrated copywriter, an AI copywriter inside your marketing CRM that you can upload that brand playbook to, and it lives there, that can create content for you on demand that's custom to you, not the same as anybody else, and it's based on your brand messaging, that's ideal, because now you don't need a copywriter to write blogs for you. You don't need anybody to create social media content for you when you've got an AI copywriter inside your CRM that can produce any kind of content you want on demand. Okay. So we're launching a program today that the whole idea is to help firms implement and automate their marketing strategies, and to actually get it done and get it into set it and forget it mode. I told you that it takes a little bit of setup on the front end. Summertime is the perfect time to do that. And we are calling it the Accounting Firm Business Accelerator. And we're opening the doors to it today. This is really where the rubber hits the road. It is definitely time to implement. So what we're doing is we're making this available at an exclusive price for participants on today's webinar only, or Be Insightful members. These doors will stay open until the end of the day and the business on Friday, the 23rd. The price will go up on Saturday. So it'll still be available. Price will increase. What are you going to get? Expert guidance to implement my 7-step process that we talked about today. And then you will have full access, unlimited access to the whole Kajabra CRM designed for accountants, and it will be at an accessible price point. So what is it? The Accounting Firm Business Accelerator. So it's done with you. We actually work with you to create a customized brand messaging playbook, your very own, and your services playbooks. And we do that inside Kajabra, and it will live there. We've created a step-by-step video course that goes really deep into all of those steps, those 7 steps, to help you implement those from start to finish. And then we also have 2 weekly office hour sessions where you can come and ask questions or get help. And of course, we're available outside of that. We've got 24/7 support, live chat support. You do have an AI copywriter trained on your brand to create all of your content on demand. And the Kajabra CRM is great because you've got, there's no limit to how many users can be in it. There's no limit to how many contacts you can put in it. It is one simple price, and there is no long-term commitment to it. The other thing is we've pre-written a lot of content for you inside the Kajabra CRM. We've got proposal templates in there for accountants with electronic signature capture. We've got we've got like pre-written 26 emails of pre-written nurture content for leads. That would be a year's worth of content to drip out to leads so that you stay in front of them. And we've got some pre-built workflows for the entire sales journey, from lead capture through onboarding, through even automating your asking for Google reviews. So what is the price on this bad boy? It is through Friday. It is $9.99 one time, and then it's just $197 per month. Now, if you move into this program, then that $197 per month, you're grandfathered in, so it goes for as long as you want to be in it. There's no long-term commitment. Your first month on the Kajabra platform is at no cost. It's just you're paying $9.99 up front for all of this, and then $197 a month. You stay in that Kajabra platform with access to all of these tools, access to us, access to support 24/7. So if this is something of interest, you can go to, I think Matt put it in the chat. There's a link to go to, which is, you can see it on my screen too. It's just kajabracrm.com/AF like Frank, B like boy, A. And that is Accounting Firm or Accounting Founders Business Accelerator, I think is what we termed that. That's the AFBA, in case you're wondering. So let me just pause and see if there's any questions. Recording. Yeah. Oh, I did see someone had a question about yeah, thank you. Oh, somebody else loves nurse sharks when diving. We should talk. I am obsessed with them right now. I could do a whole webinar on diving. I love it. Let me just see if there's any other questions out here. And if not, we will wrap up. No, we are good. Okay. Okay, guys, if you have questions for me about this at all, anything that we've covered today, please feel free to reach out to me. You can get me at janel@kajabra.com, JANEL, or you can, on our website, you can book a call with me, or you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a direct message. I'm pretty active there, or hit me up on Alignable. It's my new favorite place. And I really appreciate all of you coming. I hope everyone was able to take away some great nuggets from this today. And I had one other thing I wanted to show you, which is just a few recent reviews. And that's it. And here's my contact information if you would like to reach out to me personally. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. And I look forward to connecting with you soon.